you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Recovery video. Visit their website to learn how the Grizzly Drive drum motor increases the reliability and reduces the cost of ownership of conveyor systems.
Hello again, Kevin Yannick here from Pit and Quarry Magazine. Thanks for joining us again for a Road to Recovery video. We've got with us today George Reddin of FMI Capital Advisors. George specializes in mergers and acquisitions and offers financial advisory services. And George, welcome back to the program. Great to see you again.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to be here.
We'll cover a lot of ground here today, and our viewers can see some of your insights across a few different videos here in the month of February. But let's start with mergers and acquisitions, George, because we saw a lot of stoppage of that in 2020. And you just touched upon M&A in one of your recent write-ups for the magazine. Seems like maybe you're a little more bullish that we're going to see new or additional or pickup in M&A in 2021. And I'm wondering, as we sit here early in February, what is it you're seeing? What's the M&A landscape look like as it pertains to construction materials?
Great. Hey, a year ago, there was cautious optimism, right? That word. And the big concern was, will we have a recession? If so, what will it look like? Will we even feel it, right? Long, gentle, protracted recovery. Would you feel a recession? We all go to Con Expo, come back, and we're in the middle of this pandemic. Things shut down. We're anxious to see, are we a industry deemed essential? We are. What's going to happen with state budgets? Many of them expiring the end of June. Everything seemed to go okay. So during that period, March, April, May, June, it's pretty quiet, right? But about late July, the public companies, which do the majority of the announced deals, started coming back. Residential was a surprise, people wanting to find space to work at home, low interest rates, that was a surprise. And optimism that we'd get a highway bill. So, and most of the highway contractors were doing okay, agri producers and asphalt players in general. So the last part of the year was very active in M&A. A lot of deals in November, December, and that momentum has carried into this year. The stock prices for the publicly traded companies, often a lead indicator for M&A activity, have done really well the last 2 months. And so we, again, we think we're going to have a very active second half of the year. Right? Conversations going on now, the gestation period to start conversations, get them in the market, get them closed and announced, take some time. So second half of the year should be very active.
George, specifically to bring HeidelbergCement into the equation, there's a report, can't remember if it was early 21 or right at the end of 2020, that they were looking or kind of relooking at some assets, some aggregate assets, some in the west of the U.S. What are you hearing on that, and what might our industry expect out of Heidelberg as 21 gets underway a little further?
Right. So they have announced that they're looking at options for those assets out west. Not unusual. There was a time when divesting was looked at as a sign of weakness. Now it looks like you are evaluating your portfolio of assets and determining where you're going to be able to get a position, a leading position, a growing position. And if not, maybe as deemed not core, you look at divesting and redeploying the capital more effectively elsewhere. This has gone on with many of the major producers. I just see this as part of ongoing strategic planning for them.
George, it did seem, from my view at least, that the activity we saw in 2020 was more of the bolt-on variety, and I wonder if any of those mega deals could be on the horizon, whether it is HeidelbergCement or somebody else. Are there those rumblings out there? And even if there aren't those rumblings, is the market or is the environment conducive for the big type of deal right now?
Yeah, so good markets, bad markets, bolt-on acquisitions remain in favor. Buyers and sellers can meet price expectations because there's all sorts of strategic benefits to a buyer, eliminating a competitor. So bolt-ons are always good. You're right. The platform deals typically need to see stabilized markets and opportunities for growth, because the buyer is simply changing places with the seller. And to get the seller's attention on price, there has to be optimism from the buyer for the outlook of the business. And we are seeing that happening now. The sellers are ahead of the buyers. The buyers are ahead of the sellers, right now, and there's a lot of money was raised this past year with cheap debt. The balance sheets are in good order, leverage ratios are good, cash balance is good, and so the buyers are very acquisitive at this point. And we're really trying to get the sellers to get more comfortable that this is a good time to sell. You know, coming off of a year that maybe was a little disappointing because of the pandemic, and maybe backlogs are a little bit off. Some sellers are thinking maybe not the right time. But you know, in an industry where the buyer pool is relatively small, and knowing that that buyer pool is active and interested, now is actually a very good time for sellers to be out there looking.
Thank you to Vandergraaf for sponsoring this Road to Recovery video. Visit their website to learn how the Grizzly Drive drum motor increases the reliability and reduces the cost of ownership of conveyor systems.